Booktrack brings your favorite stories to life through movie-style soundtracks. Best heard on headphones with high-quality audio settings.
Hachette Audio presents The Best of Me, written by Nicholas Sparks, read by Sean Pratt.
Chapter 1. For Dawson Cole, the hallucinations began after the explosion on the platform, on the day he should have died. In the 14 years he'd worked on oil rigs, he thought he'd seen it all. In 1997, he'd watched as a helicopter lost control as it was about to land. It crashed onto the deck, erupting in a blistering fireball. 13 people, most of them in the helicopter at the time, had died. 4 years later, after a crane on the platform collapsed, a piece of flying metal debris the size of a basketball nearly took his head off. In 2004, he was one of the few workers remaining on the rig when Hurricane Ivan slammed into the rig. With winds gusting over 100 miles an hour, and waves large enough to make him wonder whether to grab a parachute in case the rig collapsed. But there were other dangers as well. People slipped, hearts broke, and cuts and bruises were a way of life among the crew. Dawson had seen more broken bones than he could count. 2 plagues of food poisoning that sickened the entire crew. And 2 years ago, in 2007, he'd watched a supply ship start to sink as it pulled away from the rig, only to be rescued at the last minute by a nearby Coast Guard cutter. But the explosion was something different. Because there was no oil leak, in this instance the safety mechanisms and their backups prevented a major spill, the story barely made the national news and was largely forgotten within a few days. But for those who were there, including him, it was the stuff of nightmares. Up until that point, the morning had been routine. He'd been monitoring the pumping stations when one of the oil storage tanks suddenly exploded. Before he could even process what had happened, the impact from the explosion sent him crashing into a neighboring shed. After that, fire was everywhere.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?